Hello, everybody. There's a lot going on out there, so let's get to it. And today's subject is silver and the breakout in silver. What's happening? Well, here's the chart. And silver for the year is up about 90%. And you can kind of see on that chart, wow, those spikes are getting a little steeper. It's moving up a little bit faster. What's happening? Well, first thing you might be asking is, well, Greg, if it's up about 90%, should we sell? Probably not. And a lot of it has to do with just basic supply and demand. So here's our situation. We have been in what's called structural deficit with silver for the past 5 to 7 years. What does that mean? We have been consuming more silver than what we have been mining. You only mine so much per year. Meanwhile, we use it up. Use it up in solar panels. Use it up on your cell phone, those little dots, the connectors that you use it up in, believe it or not, sheets or towels or socks that have little silver threads in them because silver kills bacteria. And so they use it at hospitals to keep bacteria down, or silver sprays. You get the idea. We consume silver. Well, we're consuming more and more of it, and we're not mining enough of it. So that explains one part of this chart here, kind of the gentle rise up. But what about those spikes? What caused that? A couple of things. One is countries are now declaring silver a strategic asset. China's done it. India's done it. We've done it. Russia has done it. Why would silver be a strategic asset? Well, you may not know this, but in every Tomahawk missile, we have about 473 ounces of silver, because silver conducts electricity really well, and silver works well to make missiles work well. The Chinese know this, India knows this, Russia knows this, we know this. Well, if you have stockpiles of silver going down and you need to make missiles, you better start stockpiling that if you're going to have shortages. So that exacerbated the problem. It got so bad over the last few weeks, there are concerns that on the commodities exchanges, not just in the US, but overseas, we were running out of silver. So about 3 weeks ago, here's what happened. The London exchange, and London is a massive exchange for silver. It's kind of a vestige of the old British Empire. They do an awful lot of trade in physical silver with India and with China. Well, there was a delivery request that it looked like London was not going to be able to make delivery. What do you mean not make delivery? It means when you open the warehouse doors, the vaults, and it's just a concrete floor, what happens if there's a failure to deliver? Failure to deliver is panic city, and the price spikes up, straight up. Well, they didn't want that. So what happened? They asked the United States, our commodities exchange, to loan them 53 million ounces of silver, which we did, and we sent it over to London so that they could make delivery. That brings us to Thanksgiving weekend. Something really weird happened here. Our exchanges, of course, were closed, but globally they were open, and silver was trading. And all of a sudden, they halted trading in silver and in gold because they said they had server problems that were overheating. There was a cooling issue. Wait a minute, there were all kinds of redundancies in the cooling systems for servers. That was one thing. And how come it only affected servers for gold and silver, but not wheat or cotton or oil or any other commodity? That shutdown lasted 10 trading hours. So it went from Thanksgiving into Friday morning. What happened? Rumor mill. Someone had requested, or actually demanded, 400 million ounces of silver to be delivered. And then the rumor is we didn't have it, London didn't have it, and there was panic behind the scenes as silver prices began to shoot straight up when no one was paying attention because it was Thanksgiving weekend. So why was this such a big deal to Wall Street? Well, it's not just the lack of silver, but it's the way traders trade silver. So many of you know this from previous videos. For every 1 ounce of real silver in a vault on the commodities exchange, I don't know, 400 ounces of paper silver contracts will trade. And technically, all of those paper contracts are backed by that little bit of silver. By the way, what happens if all 300 of those paper contract holders claim the 1 ounce of silver that in the contract it says they own it, they all claim it? What if they all say, it's mine? What happens? They void the contracts. It's called force majeure, French term, the majestic force, an act of God, and they will void all the contracts. Well, if you void all the contracts, it's a little bit like failure to deliver. When they reopen the exchange for trading, so they'll shut it down, up the price will go again. That was one problem. The second problem is there are an awful lot of traders, especially at large banks, Bank of America, JP Morgan, Goldman Sachs, that have significant what are called short positions in silver. And again, most of you know this, you can make money on something if the price goes down, which seems odd to us. We always think price goes up, that's when you make money, price goes down, you lose. But if you make a bet that the price will go down and you win the bet, you make money. Well, there's a massive short position in silver. And as the price of silver was spiking over Thanksgiving weekend, those short positions were getting hammered. The estimates were there were $30 billion in losses in those short positions to those banks that were short. You think, well, that's a pretty big loss. Yes, it is. 25 years ago, and I know it's a long time ago, but Bear Stearns that went down the tubes, they had a $2 billion loss, and they basically went out of business. This was 30 billion. And granted, it's 25 years later, but still, it's a big loss. Something had to be done. Again, rumor mill. The cover story was the servers thing, but what really happened, there were probably panicky phone calls over Thanksgiving weekend. Who took that order for 400 million ounces of delivery? Can we talk to them? What do we do? How can we source silver from around the globe? What can we do to hold this thing together? And by Monday morning, it was kind of patched together. Last week, silver had a good week, but not a great week. The point is this, I don't think they have solved the fundamental problem with silver. We've got a supply and demand issue. We don't have enough of it. Demand is rising. We don't have enough supply. The wind is at your back with silver in our view. Could silver go to triple digits? Yeah. Do we know how fast? No. But again, I'll just say the wind is at your back. I'll say you can't give blanket advice over the internet. But I'll say this, I think silver will be a very, very good investment in 2026. So with that, I'll turn it over to Walt.